In this episode, we dive deep into the life and legacy of Nicolò Rizzuto, the mastermind behind Montreal's notorious Mafia empire. From his early days in Sicily to his reign in the underworld, his influence was felt across borders, and his legacy still resonates today. The origins of La Cosa Nostra, the infamous Sicilian Mafia, stretch back to 1838, marking the beginning of an organization whose influence transcended its homeland. While its grip on Italy remains unyielding, the Mafia's power has extended far and wide, infiltrating cities across the globe. Despite its clandestine nature, the reach of the Mafia's network is undeniable, and its presence looms large over Montreal. Recent years have seen a surge in Mafia-related incidents in the city, from arson attacks targeting Italian coffee shops to high-profile assassinations of prominent figures. One of the most shocking events was the murder of Nicolò Rizzuto on November 10, 2010, a killing that drew widespread attention from the press and left Montrealers grappling with the reality of organized crime in their midst. The Mafia's influence in Montreal is a testament to its ability to exploit weaknesses in provincial and federal regulations, allowing it to integrate seamlessly into the city's legal economy. Through this infiltration, the organization launders vast sums of money from its illicit activities. Yet, the true extent of the Mafia's impact on everyday life in Montreal remains hidden from the average citizen. Unknowingly, many contribute to the prosperity of this shadowy empire. The complex history, strict codes of conduct, hierarchical structure, and covert methods employed by the Mafia reveal an organization designed to operate in secrecy while exerting significant power. The Mafia's entrenchment in Montreal is deeply rooted in its history. Like all tales of conflict, this one is marked by intense rivalries and violent battles for dominance. The origins of the Montreal Mafia can be traced back to the waves of Italian immigrants who arrived in Canada during the 1940s, fleeing the devastation of World War II. Among these immigrants were members of the Italian Mafia, who saw North America as fertile ground for expanding their operations. In their quest to build a formidable empire, 5 influential Mafia families established a base in New York City, which would later become their headquarters. Over time, these families extended their reach to Canada, assigning divisions to major urban centers, including Montreal. The Rizzuto clan, now synonymous with organized crime in the city, rose to prominence after decades of dominance by the Catroni family. Initially, the Catronis, led by brothers Vincenzo and Giuseppe, operated as a subset of New York's powerful Bonanno family. Nicolò Rizzuto's journey into the Montreal Mafia began in 1954 when he left his hometown of Cattolica Eraclea in Sicily. The Rizzuto family's connection to the Mafia ran deep, with Nicolò's father, Vito Rizzuto, having married into a prominent Sicilian Mafia lineage. Nicolò's early years in Cattolica Eraclea were marked by a reputation for lawlessness. Starting as a petty thief, he quickly found himself entangled in the criminal underworld. In 1945, Nicolò faced his first arrest after attempting to sell a significant quantity of wheat on the black market. Despite his brushes with the law, he remained undeterred. At the age of 21, he solidified his ties to the Mafia by marrying Libertina Mano, the daughter of influential Mafia boss Don Antonino Mano. This marriage not only strengthened Nicolò's personal connections, but also cemented his position within the organization. The Rizzuto family's path to Canada was fraught with challenges. After an initial attempt to settle in the United States in 1952 ended with their deportation back to Italy, Nicolò moved his family to Venezuela before finally deciding to immigrate legally to Canada. They chose Montreal as their new home, drawn by the established Sicilian community in Quebec. This decision set the stage for the Rizzuto's eventual rise to power. Nicolò's son, Vito Rizzuto, further expanded the family's influence by marrying Giovanna Camilleri, with whom he had 3 children, including Nicolò Jr., named in honor of his grandfather. While Nicolò Rizzuto's legacy as the godfather of the Montreal Mafia is well documented, it is impossible to overlook the impact of his predecessor, Vincenzo Catroni. Born in Calabria in 1911, Catroni's path to power was vastly different. Despite dropping out of school at an early age, he built a reputation as a shrewd businessman, balancing legitimate ventures with illicit operations such as prostitution, gambling, and bookmaking. By the time Nicolò arrived in Montreal, the rivalry between the Catroni and Rizzuto clans had already begun to take shape. The Mafia operates under an ironclad code of conduct, a set of unyielding rules and customs designed to maintain strict discipline and unwavering loyalty among its members. These regulations are not mere suggestions, they are mandates that demand absolute adherence. Any deviation from these principles is met with swift and severe consequences, often resulting in death. To gain approval for any special actions or permissions, a mafioso must seek the consent of a superior, reinforcing the chain of command and the culture of obedience. This rigid system ensures order within the organization, as described by Francis Yanni in his book A Family Business. Yanni details the origins of this code, first formally documented in 1892, and its revised version from 1900, both of which continue to shape the Mafia's operations to this day. The 1892 code, foundational to the Mafia's ethos, outlined the following principles. 1. Members must offer mutual assistance in times of need, no matter the circumstances. 2. Absolute obedience to the leader of the group is mandatory. 3. Any offense against a member is regarded as an offense against the entire organization and must be avenged without hesitation. 4. Seeking justice from state authorities is strictly forbidden. 5. The identities of members and the secrets of the association must never be disclosed. By 1900, the code had been updated to address evolving dynamics within the organization. 1. Members are required to aid one another and avenge any harm done to a fellow member. 2. Efforts must be made to defend and, if necessary, liberate any member who has fallen into the hands of law enforcement or judicial authorities. 3. The spoils from theft, robbery, and extortion are to be shared among members, with provisions for the needy as determined by the leader, capo. 4. Breaking the oath of secrecy or revealing Mafia secrets results in a death sentence to be executed within 24 hours. These codes encapsulate the core values of the Mafia: discretion, honor, loyalty, and cooperation. Letizia Paoli, in her book Mafia Brotherhoods, delves deeper into the fundamental principles underlying these rules. She notes that the Mafia operates as a tightly knit clan, resembling a biological family in structure and function. The organization follows its own set of rules, distinct from societal norms, to ensure internal cohesion and operational secrecy. When inducting new members, the Mafia demands absolute loyalty and a complete severance of previous allegiances. Recruits are expected to prioritize their devotion to the Cosa above all else, even to the point of sacrificing their lives if necessary. This level of commitment ensures that the Mafia can rely on its members to remain faithful and obedient without exception. These expectations grant immense power to the clan leaders, enabling them to wield their subordinates as tools for personal or organizational objectives. Through this combination of loyalty, fear, and discipline, the Mafia solidifies its internal structure and maintains the stability needed to pursue its operations. The strict enforcement of the code allows the organization to function with minimal internal disruption while safeguarding its clandestine nature. In essence, the Mafia's code of conduct is more than a set of rules, it is the lifeblood of the organization. It fosters an environment of unshakable trust and allegiance while empowering leaders to control and manipulate their members effectively. By meticulously upholding these principles, the Mafia has created a framework that not only facilitates its illegal activities, but also ensures its survival in the face of external threats. The structure of the Mafia is a meticulously crafted hierarchy where authority is absolute and never open to challenge. This rigid organization ensures cohesion and operational efficiency. In the 1940s, the foundation of the Montreal Mafia was directly tied to the power of New York's infamous five families, the Genovese, Gambino, Lucchese, Colombo, and Bonanno families. These powerful entities not only governed their own territories, but also controlled the activities of their North American extensions, including Montreal. Within this framework, the Montreal Mafia evolved into two primary factions, the Calabrian branch, led by the Catroni family, and the Sicilian branch, which later rose to prominence under the leadership of the Rizzuto family. Despite their rivalry, both groups remained subordinate to the Bonanno family, which held the ultimate authority. The arrival of the Rizzuto family in Montreal was met with tension. The Catronis, who had long maintained dominance, perceived the newcomers as a threat. Paolo Violi, a prominent figure within the Catroni faction, insisted that the Rizzutos undergo a 5-year probationary period before being fully integrated into the Mafia's activities. Nicolò Rizzuto, however, refused to comply, determined to begin his operations immediately. This defiance sparked a bitter feud between Nicolò and Violi, with each accusing the other of undermining the Mafia's structure. Violi criticized Rizzuto for his perceived disrespect toward the Catronis, while Rizzuto dismissed the Montreal division as poorly managed. Despite these disputes, higher-ranking Mafia members eventually ruled in favor of the Rizzutos, allowing them to establish their activities in Montreal. However, the rivalry between the Sicilian and Calabrian factions only intensified. By 1978, tensions reached a breaking point when Nicolò Rizzuto orchestrated the assassination of Paolo Violi, effectively dismantling the Catroni family's control. This pivotal event marked a dramatic shift in power as the Sicilian Rizzuto clan ascended to dominance over the Montreal Mafia. Under Rizzuto leadership, the Montreal Mafia flourished, becoming stronger and more organized than ever before. In time, the Rizzuto family's influence even surpassed that of their former overseers, the Bonanno family in New York. Their strategic approach and unity transformed the Montreal Mafia into a powerful entity, unrivaled in its control of the city's underworld. While the visible structure of the Mafia revolves around its male leaders and enforcers, women play an equally significant, though often overlooked, role in the organization. Traditionally referred to as men of honor, the Mafia's image is dominated by its male members, but women contribute in ways that are critical to the organization's longevity and stability. Operating behind the scenes, they serve as the glue that holds families together, ensuring that respect, discipline, and loyalty are instilled in their children from a young age. Mafia women often reinforce family ties by nurturing obedience and cohesion, preparing their sons to carry on the clan's traditions and their daughters to perpetuate the family's values. Their influence is profound, extending beyond the home. For instance, Nicolò Rizzuto's own mother was directly involved in criminal activities, participating in the black market wheat trade. While their roles may seem secondary, women are deeply respected and regarded as essential to the Mafia's prosperity. Despite their importance, women occupy a paradoxical position within the organization. They wield immense influence within the family unit, often acting as matriarchs who shape the future of the clan. As Fiandica notes, women are instrumental in pushing their sons toward actions that uphold the Mafia's culture, including acts of revenge, and ensuring their daughters become capable custodians of family integrity. However, this power is largely confined to the domestic sphere, as women are excluded from direct decision-making or leadership roles within the Mafia's operations. Strategically, women are also employed as tools to forge alliances between families. Through marriage, they become a means of consolidating power, much like in aristocratic traditions. Fiandica describes how the offering of a woman in marriage creates blood ties that strengthen partnerships between clans. While this practice underscores women's lack of autonomy in the organization, it also highlights their indispensable role in maintaining and expanding the Mafia's network of alliances. Beyond their familial duties, women fulfill a range of functions that support the Mafia's broader operations. They manage socialization and religious education, fostering a sense of normalcy within the organization while maintaining its deeply rooted cultural traditions. Women are often the most trusted figures during crises, providing stability and emotional support. Their presence helps craft a positive public image of the Mafia, shielding it from scrutiny while reinforcing the perception of the organization as a cohesive and united entity. In summary, the role of women within the Mafia extends far beyond the superficial. They are educators, strategists, and enforcers of cultural values, ensuring the continuity and cohesion of the organization. Though they lack direct authority, their influence is profound, underpinning the success and longevity of the Mafia in ways that are both subtle and essential. Without their contributions, the organization would lack the unity and discipline that have allowed it to thrive for generations. The Mafia's influence on society, though often hidden beneath a veil of secrecy, is far-reaching and deeply embedded in everyday life. Many unknowingly contribute to its prosperity by participating in the very economy the Mafia has infiltrated over decades. Its reach extends far beyond illegal activities, penetrating legitimate sectors like the construction industry. Investigations by authorities have uncovered widespread corruption, revealing how the Mafia wields its power to intimidate entrepreneurs and manipulate contracts. Entrepreneurs frequently receive threats, warnings not to bid on certain projects lest they face violence. Police investigations into such complaints have exposed collusion within the industry, directly tied to the Mafia's extensive network. This dominance over the construction industry was achieved through years of calculated corruption and intimidation. The Mafia not only determines which contractors win lucrative deals, but also demands a mandatory cut from the awarded contracts, typically around 5%. This ongoing racket generates vast sums of cash, creating logistical challenges for the organization. To solve this problem, the Mafia launders its illicit earnings through legitimate businesses such as restaurants, retail shops, and used car dealerships. Citizens unknowingly support this criminal enterprise every time they patronize these establishments. The Mafia's operations extend beyond local industries to include the trafficking of illegal goods. Canadian borders, particularly through Montreal, have been prime avenues for smuggling drugs, weapons, and contraband. At one point, the Mafia exerted significant control over Dorval Airport, employing members to oversee the import and export of illegal substances. Any independent sellers who sought to move contraband through the Mafia-controlled routes were required to pay a tax, either in cash or merchandise, to guarantee safe passage. Compliance with these demands ensured that sellers avoided violent repercussions. Small business owners are also entangled in the Mafia's web. The organization levies a protection tax, known as the piso, on entrepreneurs in exchange for the privilege of operating their businesses unimpeded. This payment not only buys protection from potential competitors or other criminal organizations, but also shields the owners from Mafia-driven retaliation. Refusal to pay the piso often results in dire consequences, such as arson attacks or physical violence, designed to coerce compliance. Despite the Mafia's historical dominance, its power has waned in recent years due to intensified law enforcement efforts and internal upheaval. Two major police operations significantly undermined the Mafia's influence in Montreal. The first, Operation Compote in 1994, aimed to dismantle the Mafia's money laundering activities. Undercover officers established a fake bank, luring Mafia members into transferring $165 million in drug money. The operation culminated in the arrest of 46 individuals on charges of tax evasion and money laundering. The second, Operation Colossi in 2006, was even more extensive, involving 700 officers in a coordinated series of raids. This operation targeted high-ranking members of the Montreal Mafia, including Nicolò Rizzuto, Paolo Renda, and Francesco Arcadi. Authorities arrested 73 individuals and seized millions of dollars, significant quantities of cocaine and marijuana, and evidence of illegal gambling operations. These actions dealt a severe blow to the Mafia's leadership and financial infrastructure. Further destabilizing the organization, Vito Rizzuto, the head of the Montreal Mafia, was arrested in 2004 and extradited to the United States, where he pled guilty to a 1981 triple murder. His imprisonment created a leadership vacuum, triggering internal conflicts and power struggles. Tragedy struck the Rizzuto family repeatedly. Nicolò Rizzuto Jr., Vito's son and presumed heir, was murdered in broad daylight in 2009. Other close associates, including Paolo Renda and Agostino Contrera, were either kidnapped or killed in the following months. The violence reached its peak in November 2010, when Nicolò Rizzuto Sr., the family patriarch, was assassinated by a sniper while dining with his family. This brazen act, uncharacteristic of traditional mafia killings, shocked the criminal underworld and raised questions about the involvement of rival groups or internal betrayal. Traditionally, mafia murders avoid involving family members, yet Nicolò's assassination defied these norms, signaling a potential shift in the organization's methods. In addition to these losses, the mafia faces increasing pressure from rival criminal organizations. Street gangs and biker groups, such as the Hells Angels, are capitalizing on the mafia's weakened state, attempting to seize control over territories and illegal enterprises in Montreal. The past decade has seen a rise in violent incidents, including Molotov cocktail attacks on coffee shops linked to mafia interests. Rizzuto once claimed to be a stabilizing force in Montreal's criminal landscape, mediating between the mafia, street gangs, and biker groups. His absence has left a power vacuum, exacerbating conflicts among these factions. While law enforcement has succeeded in curtailing the mafia's influence, these efforts have created new challenges. Rival organizations have become emboldened, leading to increased violence and instability. Street gangs, in particular, have expanded their reach, posing a growing threat to the city's security. Even the Hells Angels, though weakened by their own run-ins with the law, remain a formidable adversary in the battle for control over Montreal's underworld. Despite these setbacks, the Mafia continues to adapt, leveraging its deeply entrenched networks and strategic alliances. However, its future remains uncertain. The relentless efforts of law enforcement, coupled with internal strife and external competition, have weakened its once unassailable position. In conclusion, the Mafia's presence in Montreal is a testament to its adaptability and resilience. For decades, it operated with impunity, building an empire rooted in secrecy and coercion. However, sustained pressure from authorities and rival factions has significantly eroded its power. As the Mafia struggles to regain its footing, the city faces new challenges, with rising violence and the growing influence of other criminal groups threatening its stability. While the Mafia's dominance may be fading, the fight against organized crime in Montreal is far from over.